Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between the dinosaurs and Norsca. It's going to be myself with the Banana Toad and the Shredder of Lustria, baby, facing off against Housecat of War, who is going to be rocking the Norskins, looking to hunt some big monsters. So he's got javelins, he's got Wolfric back here ready to party, certainly up to the task of fighting the Dread Beast. Now, this was the semifinals of a tournament, and the more meta lizard build is basically going wide with Saurus and Skinks, using a life slam, and then using maybe Croxagores and Salamanders to kind of win the fight. But I felt like Housecat, he's a very meta player. I felt like he would be expecting that, so I wanted to get real crunk and real wild and try and catch him off guard with the Shredder of Lustria, but it's also just a bit of a power fantasy to use it. So we're bringing it in, baby. Let's see how it does. So the army's going to be Saurus, Lifeslan. Lifeslan does have regrowth and Earthblood. Obviously, if you're, spending almost 4,000 gold on a unit, you want to be able to heal it. And the rest of the army is going to be Saurus. Very standard stuff. And for old Housecat here, it is going to be Marauder Champions. Top tier choice in this matchup. They're extremely resilient. They defeat Saurus in combat. They have nice armor, and they have a good missile mitigation with their shields. Just incredibly good. So it's going to be Marauder Champions into the Sunset, basic Marauders. And as soon as he calls out or sees my Shredder of Lustria, I'm sure a sense of panic ran through him. But probably not. He's probably like, oh, this is going to be easy. But the Marauder Hunters with Javelins come out, and he's going to be ready to throw some Javelins at the big boy. So we'll do a little bit of fast forwarding while we posture up. I am going to be securing Objective 2. We have a small force going to Objective 3 as well, and it's going to be go time. So I know that if I collapse from this side, line of sight might be a little bit tricky for him. So what we do is we move our Banana Toad up, and we're going to be using the Blood Statue of Spite and Banishment. So two abilities that it does have. A nice Sea Fang there, so he did get me with his pirate ship. But the first wave of Marauders are going to be getting wrecked, and that's some big damage. I mean, the Shredder's one attack just basically crushes like 15-20% of its HP. And now we move in to go. So I'm going to be trying to chain terror out his backfield up on the high ground. Saurus Warriors versus Marauders should be a good fight for me. And we have gotten on top of the Javelin. So immediately they start to take casualties. The Shredder of Lustria taking a little bit of Javelin fire, but nothing that we can't fix up. And our next call-in is going to be the Croxagores. So we have the ROR Croxagores. These things are great against Marauder Champions. Also have good armor against missiles. On the far side, we leave one Saurus unit, evacuate the Skinks, and we're going to be committing to Objective 2 and Objective 1 up at the high ground. So here comes the Shredder. We get a Banishment, so the Banishment's going to be popping right on the dome of those Marauders. So one of the Marauders gets routed off instantly. So that's a really good start. Two of the missile pieces that are a big concern for our big monster are already out of the picture. Now, a bit of a problem, though, is the Slan Mage is going to be getting hunted by Wolfric, so certainly don't like that. But we do manage to rout off two of the Javelins. One of them is going to be coming back here, and he does have a fifth Javelin. So he came very prepared for big monsters, which is standard because of how normal Croxagores are in this matchup. But it's kind of cool. Lizards can play a multitude of ways, right? You can even go wide and use like Salamanders to sit back and bombard these guys. Like there's so many cool tactics the Lizardmen can do. Very, very neat faction for sure. But the Power Fist Croxagore is also doing very good. We're close in value. And with healing, I'm probably going to be slightly ahead in this situation. The Cohort of Fodl, though, is putting a righteous beating down on Wolfric. He's dazed. He's getting punched in the face by these giant Space Marine crocodiles. And it's looking pretty damn good. So Norse controls do move into my secondary. Up on the high ground, we do have our Saurus unit being 2v1 by the Marauders. He might lose that, but we do call in some Feral Cold Ones to help us win that fight. And we will eventually win that one. And the Troll's instantly getting routed as well. So a lot of terror routes going down. The Shredder of Lustria has actually been turbo impactful so far. I don't know if it's as optimal as, let's say, 4 Croxagore units, which you could basically bring for the same point. But I would say he's been quite a menace. And now he's going to be moving in, going after Wolfric, who's very low. He's shaken and stirred. Unfortunately for me, though, the Javelins have gotten in position, and we do respond by using the dreaded Shield of the Old One, so that's going to give us some nice ward save here. Fata Buna going down on the Cohort of Fodl, and obviously Fata Buna is an auto-take in this matchup because you want to use it against Salamanders, but I didn't really bring any in my starting army, so far the magic from my opponent isn't really being terribly impactful. Value 36 against 45, Wolfric's very, very beat up. And the Saurus Warriors are hanging in there. Up on the high ground, we should eventually win this fight. Saurus are just insanely resilient, and when they start rampaging with Primal Instincts, they get, physical resist, they get melee attack, just tons of good stats, and also the Feral Cold Ones have great AP. So Feral Cold Ones are another good staple in this matchup. They can melt down the Marauder Champions if you stack them on top of the Saurus. But nonetheless, the fight rages on. The Cohort of Fodl pushes into the secondary. They've gotten some okay value, about 1,400 so far, so they've certainly paid for themselves. Now, the only dicey thing, though, is I'm in his secondary now. He's got a little bit of Javelin Crossfire on me, a lot of missile play back here. My units are rampaging out of control, so I can't really keep them in check. And as far as the points go, I am down on the objectives because I have a big scary monster, so I'm not going to be as privy on the points to a much wider army. But here we're going to be securing this one. I have some basic Croxagores coming in, so that's basically a guarantee that that one's going to be ours. And then we just need to kind of secure the middle, and we can just try and play the two objective game. Granted, Lizards are pretty good at split pushing. And here's the Shredder of Lustria still just rampaging about. Unfortunately, Marauder Spears have arrived. Javelins are refocusing their ranks, so we do have one javelin here, and one here, and a fourth javelin here. So he still, unfortunately, despite my terror routes and early damage, has a lot of stopping power. The blessed number back there, 69 of those javelins, they're ready to go. And I noticed my infantry was looking a little bit light here, so I call in cohorts. You know, I didn't have a whole lot of support, and you don't want your big monsters to be kind of fighting among spears. And the Slan Mage of Life is taking a bit of a beatdown from these trolls, which felt bad. But the Shredder of Lustria is going to be protecting Big Papa here. Earthblood goes down, which heals several units. I think that was a multi-target Earthblood, yes. Croxagors are in. Marauder Horsemen and Throwing Axes have surrounded me a little bit. We do use the Shield of the Old Ones, which will be mitigating 20% of the damage coming in. And the high ground fight going favorably for us. It took a long time. Norsca's resiliency is pretty impressive. They can last a really, really long time. So Norse controls here are going to be getting broken back. And we're trying, man, but he's got a lot of tar pitting going down, but all three objectives are under threat at the moment. Feral Cold One's trying to ninja this side, but Norscan Ice Wolves going to be responding. I'm down about 2,000 value, but I would say with the healing taken into play, like, we're almost heal capped on the Dreader. The Dreader of Lustria, basically what it is. I would say that the value is very close. It's probably dead even, if not maybe giving me a little bit of an advantage, but the one thing I do lack in is mobility at this point with this current army comp, and the kind of... Yeah, I don't have a lot of units to get on the field, but we do call out 2 Feral Cold Ones. They're going to be jumping on Objective 3, so going to be trying to triple cap my opponent. I am pretty substantially down in points. This is a very close game, actually. Very, very close. And the Shredder of Lustria is going to be pulling back. Croxagor still, you know, got their spanking paddles working on the Marauder champions. We're currently wavering, and hopefully we can get a terror out on them. But the Shredder is getting kind of low, and by low, I mean 8,000 HP, which is double Carl Francis HP, basically. You gotta love it. Norscan Ice Wolves here are going to be getting swarmed by the Cold One Riders, and not Riders, but yeah, one Rider and one basic one. Cold One Spear Riders are awesome. They're pretty good against Skin Wolves. They're you know, heavily armored themselves. Decent utility fighters if they need to fight other things. And oh, these are just the basic variant. That's right, because Skin Wolves aren't super meta here anyway. So I figured let's go for the variant that's good against the Marauder champions. So fighting a big pit fight here, we do use the Blood Statuette of Spite, getting some okay damage, but this isn't what I want from the Shredder. He's healing capped, you know, he's getting terror routes here and there, but the Haggard Norscan blob continues. Wolfric did get routed off the battlefield, so he's been gone for a while, and now we're going to be calling in more skinks just to try and get these points, and we do get the side one. The Norscan Ice Wolves losing this fight pretty heavily. Spears here are going to be a bit of a problem for me, unfortunately, and the high ground's looking good for us. I do have some rampaging units, unfortunately, who chased off the objective, so that's a little bit dodgy, but I have had a double cap for quite some time. Cold One Riders move again. This is the other unit, but they're moving into a ton of spears, so he was able to respond to some spear units. So now I'm like, we need to play some, you know, fancy tactics here. Unfortunately, my Slan is kind of left to his own devices. He's very slow at 34 movement speed. The Shredder had to run away, and most of my infantry did buckle at this point. So Marauder champions are really showing their mettle. We use regrowth, we run away, and hopefully the Banana Toad is going to be able to flee the scene with Shield of the Cold Ones going down. Shield of the Cold Ones, Shield of the Old Ones, all basically. But Shredder does a good job. He routes off the doggos here, and probably will get a very quick terror route on these Marauder Spears. Horsemen are going to be in pursuit, so that is how Norsca typically deals with big monsters, is with Marauder Horse and Throwing Axes, which I believe is what these are, yes, yes. So they're getting some sweet Throwing Axes into the side of the Shredder, and hopefully these guys will buckle, and we can just push them off the point. Shredder of Lustria down to 4,000 HP, and my Toad is getting hunted by Norscan Ice Trolls, which is really bad for me because they have Frostbite. So they put me down to 24 speed, and I really just can't get away. High ground points, okay, we got that one under control, but the Shredder of Lustria is on the run. Healing taken into account, I'm probably down by about 1,000 value at this point. Maybe a little bit more, maybe 1,500. So that definitely feels bad. And the big thing that's going to be probably sealing, or putting the nail in the coffin, as they say, is my Slan Mage going down. So the Slan gets caught out. Maybe if he could have squeaked away, I could have mustered a little bit better. But now I'm going to be taking a leadership penalty in my entire army. The Shredder of Lustria's got about 3,000 HP. But my ability to really contest the battlefield is going to be tough, and you see the power of Norscan Ice Trolls, one of the better units in the roster for sure. We call in some Salamanders, Umbral Tide to get some nice shots, but he's got Fate of Buna waiting, so finally the entire game he was probably waiting to get that Fate of Buna, but hey, you can see that caster running up. Really good against the Trolls. Excellent, as a matter of fact. You can see one of them actually shatters there, but Fate of Buna basically one-shots that unit, which feels pretty bad. 22 wins of magic to just insta-kill my unit. But it's a very good tactic. I do the same thing with Warriors of Chaos against Lizardmen all the time. It's very good. So the game's basically over at this point, so we can do a bit of a recap. He's going to secure the points. Shredder can't really do too much more, but I was very pleased with how the Shredder played. I think a cheaper Dread Saurian would have accomplished very much a similar type of thing, and we could have had a couple extra units, which could have turned the tide of the game, right? House Cat of War is, you know, one of the best players in our community. He's been... I believe he went to Game 5 against Houseplant in one of our major grand final season finals, right? Very good player. And the fact that the Shredder was comparable and competitive against him, when, you know, it's obviously a meme unit for its price point, the Shredder is always going to be a bit of a meme. It's way overcosted. But I think what we did is we illuminated the fact that a cheaper Dread Saurian could have gone a ways, right? Like if we had a cheaper Dread Saurian and maybe opened with a couple Feral Cold ones, some mobile tools to support that flank, like boom, we're in business. This thing got 2,600 value, which is pretty damn great. It absorbed a ton of damage, and honestly, the rest of the army was fine. Maybe I even just got the Salamanders because of how predictable they are for the Buna, but yeah, I really like the Shredder, man. It was fun. But again, I think a basic Dread Saurian, which costs, I think like, man, we'll go take a look real quick, but it's a lot less. And yeah, Hellscat's build is very standard. Not much really terribly, you know, out of the box here, but Norsca's roster is pretty limited, so there's usually not going to be too much crazy stuff outside of seeing like Famir. But yeah, Marauder Champions are S tier. Javelins are quite good. Trolls are really good. Buna against the Salamanders. And yeah, you live long and you prosper. It was a very, very clean play from him for sure. So taking a look here. So let's go over here and see. So Skirmish versus AI. I don't really play Lizardmen terribly often. But yeah, they're such a good faction. They're pretty easy to play too. So we go down here. The basic Shredder, no, the basic monster would be, yeah, I mean, that's a feral one. This is 37. 31 on this bad boy. Honestly, let's see the stat difference. So this guy has 100 armor. The feral one has 100 armor as well. Yeah, and this one has the Howdah on it. Yeah, I would honestly just go for the feral one because rampaging isn't a big deal. If you have your Slan, you could simply just, you know, you could simply just cold blood it. And that's a big difference. That's 700, that's 1,700 gold cheaper than the Shredder, which means like 2 extra units on the battlefield, like substantial, like 2 shielded Saurus, which can help you win fights. You could bring out like 3 of these and then like 1 of these. Like it's a big difference. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed. See you next time. Well played to my opponent. And that's going to be it for today.